What's happening, friends? Welcome aboard. This is Syracuse Sports Live, Syracuse football postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. You've got Brent Axe, you've got Javon Edmonds for the final football conversation off a game. There'll be plenty of conversation to be had in the offseason, which we're officially in now. To steal a line from Bill Belichick, we're on to the offseason. After a 3-9 football season, Syracuse football crash lands with an 8-game losing streak. Today, capped by a 34-12 loss to Boston College. Javon and I have a fun game we're going to play here coming up. 5 things that have to change for Syracuse football in the offseason to prove, Javon, I guess Fran's mission, should he choose to accept it, is to now prove, starting 280 days from now when Syracuse hosts New Hampshire at the JMA Wireless Dome, that this was a one-off. This was a fluke. This was a blip on the radar, nothing to see here, just a fluke circumstance based on a number of things, right? So is that what we saw this season? I guess is the question he has to answer. But what we saw today, I want your thoughts on and how they got through that last game of the season, which was, frankly, pretty dreadful to watch.
It started off decently, right? It was a field goal fest. It wasn't the most entertaining game, but it was competitive. The Wildcat offense was working. The read option with Joe Filardi was working. Boston College was really on its heels. And then at some point, they made the proper adjustments over there on the Eagle sideline. And the run game got stale for Syracuse, and when that happened, quick drives started piling up. Defense started being on the field longer, got tired, and then boom, Boston College runs away with the football game. How many times have we told that story on this podcast, right? So
Yes.
I heard one thing from Fran in the post-game press conference that I personally think was the most important thing. Next season's offense will not be strictly pocket passer pro style.
Yes.
They will add some other elements to it. And that's what you need. I think a lot of college programs go wrong with being so infatuated with trying to be a pro-like, pro-style NFL type of organization when that's not the case. You're a college football team. It's the reason you see Colorado football look the way it does right now. Deion Sanders doesn't understand modern college football right now. You got whole bunch of NFL guys on that staff, from the Pat Shermers to the Marshall Falks to the Warren Sapps. College is always going to be college, and the NFL is always going to be the NFL. They're always going to be two separate entities. So, Jeff Nixon's pro-style offense, if he's trying to get an NFL offense coordinator job or something like that, that's all fine and dandy for him. But for Syracuse, you're going to need some more spread it out option college-style plays, especially for quarterbacks not named Kyle McCord and Steve Angeli, which we saw
unequivocally.
Was the problem this season.
Which was the issue with Ricky Collins and right on down the line. Fran kind of noted that a couple of times about dispersing the reps between quarterbacks, not being stuck in a certain system. He referenced, when an NFL team loses a quarterback and how that can throw things off because it's system-based. So they're going to get away from that. That was a big clue on his plan. So a couple things in Fran's press conference while we're on the subject. I asked him, aside from Steve Angeli, what went wrong this season? And his main answer was similar to Angeli, that there was a number of injuries, right? He noted Justice Ross Simmons. He noted Yasin Willis. He noticed the shuffling on the offensive line. That was a common theme, too, on a couple of different answers, Javon, about how much shuffling they had to do as a team, which every football team has to do, with Syracuse certainly not exempt from that, right? The other thing I asked him is, and you kind of touched on it there, why did you have so much trouble developing a backup quarterback? And I think that was part of the problem. Now, Fran's first answer was youth, and that you had Ricky Collins and a number of young guys that were trying to take the reins here, and maybe trying to take the reins of something that they weren't fitting in, they weren't comfortable with, they weren't being used properly with, right? So two big things they have to answer in the offseason. But still, Javon, in this game, I mean, God bless Dan Villari, who carried this team over the finish line 2 years ago, running the we never gave it an official name. I like Chris Carlson, our colleague's name for it, the Thundercat offense. He was out there doing it again, senior day. I'm glad he got a touchdown in his last game, and Syracuse fans really appreciate everything that Dan Villari did. This guy went through a lot in his time at Syracuse, changed positions. He went through a coaching change, several coaches, frankly, but of course, the biggest one of all, the head coach changed, did everything he was asked of. And I think Fran said it well. He's like, if everybody in that room does what Dan Villari does, we're going to be a good football team. But Javon, it was just painful to watch this team. Fran was asked a question afterwards about just trying to get through the game. That seemed like an offense of let's just get through today. Let's put Joe Florida in a situation where he's not throwing picks. He's just getting through it here. It lacked any kind of creativity. We didn't see Rich Beelin out there, even though he was available. And man, to get run by a one-win team whose one win was Fordham this year, I don't know what's worse, losing that kind of game at home or getting run by, a team that's going to be in the college football playoff 70-7 last week by Notre Dame.
I guess that is the conversation that's going to be had this weekend. Which loss was worse? I think because you expected to get blown out by Notre Dame. You want to give them the excuse, but at the same time, letting anyone hang 70 on your head is just crazy, right? And you only score 7 in return. But at least you got, I don't know. You're fighting for last place. You're at home. I don't have an answer. Can we just talk them up as both bad and move on from it? I think I think Syracuse will be best served to just move on from some aspects of the season. You got to look at yourself and reflect what went wrong. I personally think more of what went wrong for the 25 season was the 25 off season, more so than what happened on the football field itself.
That's a process.
I think you really want to just flush the performances you had to finish the season and really focus on not repeating the same mistakes that you made last January, last April, and move forward correcting those mistakes.
Go find Will Smith. Have him do I forget what that tool was he had in Men in Black when it erased your memory, right? Just go find him. Everybody look right here. And 2025, I don't know what you're talking about. Never happened, right? That is the page they truly have to turn. In order to do that, Javon, which brings us to our fun game here, the feature of the podcast, because we're on to the offseason, a critical offseason for Fran Brown to prove everything's fine. My plan's still going to work. Everything is coming. Signing day is on Wednesday. It's going to be the highest rated class Syracuse has had. There could be some immediate impact players in that class. And then the portal doesn't open until early January. It's only a 10-day window this year. There is no spring window. There is no Steve Angeli waiting for you in April if it doesn't work out in what you bring in January. You got to hit on that portal immediately. The names are going to start flooding into the portal, I would imagine, as soon as Sunday. We're recording this live, if you will, Saturday night. So let's get to the list, shall we? And Javon does not have the list. I'm throwing this at my partner cold here because, as he said before we started, there's nothing like live TV, baby.
Come on now.
Here we go. Number 1. Now, these are not the top 5 in order of importance. These are just the 5 that I wrote down, just scratching notes, waiting for Fran to come to his press conference tonight. Number 1, you have to find a functional backup quarterback. And Fran has said they're going to get 2 out of the portal. At least that's his goal, which is going to be a challenge in and of itself because everybody that is in the portal probably wants to play somewhere and not be sold on being Steve Angeli's backup, who was on the field, by the way, tonight, throwing some warm-up passes for those of you on Steve Angeli watch. So how do you find a functional backup quarterback, Javon, when they know they're walking in the door number 2?
Not only is it that, right? Fran's big walking around bragging point back in August was, hey, we went out and paid for 2 quarterbacks. They were looking pretty good. Those are his words, not ours. So I think more than anything, not only is it you have to sell 2 guys to come in to be Steve Angeli's backup, possibly for 2 seasons, but you also have to sell. Well, you don't have to sell this. You have to get this right of, hey, you messed up with one of the quarterbacks you paid last year. You might want to get them both right this time around. So, yeah, not only is it what you just said, but, hey, your whole thing was, hey, I paid for 2 quarterbacks. I'm feeling good about both. I paid for 2 quarterbacks that can win us football games. Well, you got to make sure it's right this time around.
Number 2, defensive overhaul.
Oof.
I'm not saying you have to fire Elijah Robinson, but what I am saying is he cannot be the defensive coordinator of this team next year. You have a defense that 2 years in a row will finish near the bottom of college football. Depending on how the stats play out here, they might be dead last defensively. If not, they're going to be at the bottom of the list. You have to bring in, and they did do this, by the way, before the season even ended. They brought in Don Brown and some other faces to give this thing a fresh approach. But that defense needs an overhaul. This defense has had consistent issues since Fran took over. Last year, they had some opportunistic plays and some more experience and some talent. And look at the list: Elijah Clark, Justin Barron, Fidel Diggs, players that could kind of hide some of your flaws, some talent that stood out there. But the defensive philosophy, the approach, everything about it needs an overhaul.
Can we, as an overall football community, come to the consensus that scoring defense is the metric that needs to be used when you're talking about worst defense and not total defense? I don't care how much yards you give up. If you're holding the team to a field goal every time they're on the field, that's fine with me. I care about scoring defense. How many points per game is your defense allowing? And as it stands, Syracuse is 126th, if I'm reading that correctly.
You are reading that correctly.
Yeah. So, and what was the ranking last year, partner?
I believe they were 93rd. I'd have to look that up to be sure, but it was pretty low. Yeah.
That ain't cutting it. I mean, you get it. Elijah Robinson's your best friend in the world. But maybe, just maybe, he belongs that defensive tackle coach and on this level of football, the position that he's coming up from. And maybe you just need something different, building the whole defense and calling the plays, because this is 2 years in a row of just unacceptable behavior, to be quite frank. You look at PFF every week, tackling is bad. And then it's just like, and then you feel bad because on one end, that is a tired defense out there. But on the other end, there are times where you're looking like, nah, these guys just don't have it, particularly along the defensive line. And that is his responsibility. So, yeah, I don't really disagree with you.
Yeah, and look, Fran brought it up again. Devin Grant, Deuce Chestnut, a couple other guys playing hurt. Demetrius Samuel emerged as a player who could play right away. Had a couple really bad penalties in this game, one in the end zone. So there's still some development there, but there's just they spent an entire offseason, Javon, 4th and 1, 4th and 9, right? I mean, they'd love for that. That's a luxury at this point for them to be back. The problems got worse, and I know they talked throughout. We were at training camp. They were talking about the emphasis on tackling and all these. It just never got better. It just never got better. And I can understand that you're losing some veteran guys there. We mentioned the difference between last year and this year, but that's the sport. I don't see an identity on defense. It is the definition of insanity. And you think it's going to get better and you think it's going to change, and it just doesn't. So if that staff changes, if that's a philosophy change, whatever it is. And Fran was non-committal tonight. Chris asked him, how much are you considering some staff changes? And Fran said he didn't want to give an answer that was impulsive. He wants to, old coach standby, look at the film and then decide from there. He's certainly going to talk to John Wildhack and some other people. But from what I understand, Javon, there are going to be changes on this staff. Like, that has been decided. It's just a matter of who and what, and if that means they're no longer on the staff or if they've got a different title come sometime next week.
He will definitely be talking to John Wildhack. That is my understanding.
Number 3, instant impact. What I mean by this is, who in this upcoming freshman class is in line with Antoine Delorier, is in line with Demetrius Samuel Jr., that can balance out what you will bring in the portal, and that's an upcoming thing here. But who is ready to walk in and play right away? And you have to identify these players, Javon, not only to help this team, But what we saw this year, and I know I'm spouting a football cliche in a way, but this affected Syracuse from top to bottom. It was not just a quarterback issue. Their depth was really challenged this year. And Fran has talked extensively about this class of 2026 come in. All these players are brought in with the understanding, and I don't want to say the promise, but they're certainly given a directive like you can come in and play here right away. And here are many examples of that they can show. So Calvin Russell's at the top of that list, of course. Cameron Wilson is at the top of that list, of course. All these guys got to get across the finish line coming up. But what's a realistic expectation of 25 incoming freshmen, of how many of them can help you in 2026? You got to find them.
Yeah, and so, like, the two best players in the class are probably Calvin Russell and Amari Duff. Two receivers. I don't think you need help at receiver this year. So you're happy you have them for the future. But like you said, you need some instant impact guys. And that's not necessarily the position you need them at. You need Alex Haskell to be an immediate impact. You need Cameron Wilson to be an immediate impact, you know? So from that standpoint, the portal is going to have to be big for you. I don't think after a 3-9 season, you can be super reliant on freshmen, when part of your problem this year was you were too young and too inexperienced and too physically underdeveloped and too athletically void of talent. You know what I mean? So it's all fine and dandy. You've got the best recruiting class, in Syracuse history. That's kind of what I expect from Fran Brown. That's his whole MO. But hey man, you need some veterans that can go in and play, especially when you've got your guy in Steve Angeli right now, and at least that's what you believe is your guy. You've got to go get some vets and go all in. You're Mr. I'm going to win an ACC championship. I'm going to get to the playoff. I'm going to contend for a national championship. You ain't doing it with freshmen. That was my whole gripe with John Calipari on the basketball side at Kentucky when he came out and said his job ain't to win the national championship. It's to send these freshman guards to the league. No, man. Your job's to win a natty. And you ain't doing it with a bunch of freshmen. And that is in any sport in college.
All right, Javon. Number 4. I'm actually changing it on the fly here because I didn't like the way that I put this in before. I think this is a better way to put it. Okay.
Talk to me.
Number 4. As I change the graphic. Live TV, folks. Here it is. Find the right mix in the portal. Now, here's what I mean by that. In baseball, if you're bat 300, you're doing pretty good. That's 3 out of 10. That's not good enough.
That is why baseball is the hardest sport ever, by the way. You go to the Hall of Fame for failing 70% of the time.
So when I say find the right mix in the portal, that means the guys you bring in, put a number on it, 50%, 60%, whatever feels right. You've got to hit on. This is a quality, not quantity type of thing. Now, the quantity could add up considering the number of players that could leave this roster. You might have to fill roster spaces using the portal that you did not address aptly. Oh, that's 27 guys coming in if they get them all over the finish line Wednesday. That's an infusion of players. But you have to find the right mix. And like Javon last year, what they did on the offensive line hit all the right bells. You're bringing in players from North Carolina, Louisville, Alabama, high-level places, Florida State. That's the risk you're taking. That's the quality of players that are in there. Everybody's in the portal for a reason here, but I would much rather see that than trying to upgrade from a lot of MAC schools or things of that nature. Not that you can't find good players there, especially in the portal era. But you have to find the right mix of players in the portal. Name your position. We know how important the quarterback is. They still have to fix some things on the offensive line, but namely the defensive line maybe steps to the top of the list here. Think of all the experience you're losing from a bad defense. Now you're asking a lot of younger players to step in and hold that up. That almost takes priority as the position in the portal. But whatever it is, whatever the number is, you have to find the right mix in the portal.
I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Okay. So I guess number 5 for me is, I didn't even make a graphic for this, so I'll just say it. I'll type it as we're saying it. That Fran has to give us a reason to believe again. A tangible reason, right? Fran has to give us a reason to believe again. Not what he did in 2024. If it's as simple as, hey, I had a great quarterback and we were 3-1 and he went down, if that you want to ride that train, if the answer is Steve Angeli, then the answer is Steve Angeli. Fran said something at the press conference tonight, Javon, which could be the new t-shirt. At Syracuse football, you get to, not got to. Now, what he means by that is we get to do this. It's not, we got to do this, right? So I don't know if it's that, whatever t-shirt phrase you come up with. Fran's got to give everyone a reason to believe again. What is it that you're going to do? What do you show us? What are the receipts that you show that say, okay, last year was 3-9. It was a blip. You're still my guy.
You get to, not got to. I want to harp on that. Because I had earned the nickname of the Boomer among the student reporter circle at Temple, because I'm such an old soul apparent. And it's because of stuff like this that I'm about to say. My generation on down has some serious issues. I just don't think we go about life and think about it the right way, right? From this standpoint right here, get to, not got to. That means have fun with this thing, right? You're absolutely correct. Now, the issue is, for some reason, winning ain't fun to all of us. Like, just going out there is fine. And just go out there, look good, take your picture on Instagram. I'm going to work out in the summer, but I'll make sure the cameras are recording. I'm working out to look good, not to get better. You know what I'm saying? That's my age and on down.
Yeah.
So when you say find the right mix in the portal and make you believe again, and hit on these guys and get to but not got to, I'm with you. But make sure you're getting the guys where winning is fun to them. I'm not having fun losing. There's nothing fun about getting my ass kicked on NBC 70-7. There's nothing fun about losing the last place game on the CW. And people asking, why the hell is this game at 3 o'clock instead of noon? Ain't nothing fun about that. So you want to make, the Syracuse fan base believe again. You got to get some guys in there where, and I'm not saying this isn't the case with any of Syracuse's guys, because I don't get the impression that anybody's just out there to be out there or anything. I'm just speaking in a very broad generality. And this can apply to any program of any sport, rec league, middle school, high school, college, or professionally. Get some guys where winning in the process of becoming a winner is fun to them. Not the guys who are just there because they want to be there. Not the guys who just, I like the status of it. I like everything that comes with it, but I don't want to put in the work to go with it. And I'm fine if we lose, as long as I've got my 30 ball or I've got my 10 catches. You don't want that.
Can I make a t-shirt expression out of this before it leaves my head? You need guys that want to win, not have to win.
Yeah.
Right? I want to win. I'm not being brought here because, hey, we have to win because, oh boy, we're coming off a 3-9 season and we got to turn this thing around. I want to win. I want to come in here and be a part of this thing, and winning is the most important thing to me. And Fran had some really philosophical things to say about facing adversity and how this teaches you to be a better father and a better man. And that's part of his message. And that's all well and good. And I do appreciate that he does remind us that these are young men going through life, but you are paid to win football games. That is your job. That is at the top of the list. All that other stuff's great. And, mentoring young men and everything that comes with that, you are paid to win football games. So you need to find players that share that desire, who also, by the way, get paid to win football games now in this day and age. So, by the way, Javon is dead right about his old soul in that I appreciated when he complimented me today. So I recognize the irony of saying that I posted this on Instagram as an old soul, but I didn't post it on TikTok. So, I see everything on TikTok on Instagram 3 weeks later. But you complimented me because I am there are certain things in life that are non-negotiable to me. And one of those things are the Christmas tree does not go up until after Thanksgiving. Now, my
No.
Christmas tree was up 10 a.m. the day after Thanksgiving. Don't get me wrong. Went down and cut it down myself, as a matter of fact. But I'm staunch about there are certain traditions you don't mess with, right? So I'm glad that Javon appreciates that. And you know what you said hits too. I said this about the basketball team. If you're going to show me all these videos in the offseason of you in the weight room, running at 6 o'clock in the morning, and like, oh, that's great. But one of the things that happened to Syracuse basketball is they hit the wall in that third game in 3 days in Vegas and looked like they belonged anywhere but a basketball court. Well, as Bill Parcells once said in a famous NFL Films clip, that's why you lift all them weights. That's when that's when that stuff's got to show up, right? So all that stuff's got to show up. I get you got to make social media content these days and everything, and people eat it up, but all that stuff's got to show up when it matters, because it did not for the football team this year. The depth and everything you're supposed to build, it went off the rails in that case. Javon, our Syracuse Sports Insiders, as you can imagine, had some things to say about this one. And being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me anytime. Your thoughts, questions, opinions, analysis. We're going to be firing off lots of news at you here with guys going in the portal, any potential coaching changes on the staff. And the silly season is about to commence here in college football. So being a Syracuse Sports Insider, you guys will get that right when we have it. You can ask questions, comments. And it's just $3.99 a month to be a Syracuse Sports Insider, my friends. Try free for 2 weeks, including Rich R., who notes this, Javon. Post Angeli, Brent, this may be the worst Syracuse football team in my lifetime. These past 2 games have been humiliating. Fran has next year to gain respectability. If not, you got to move on. Now, that 2020 year was pretty bad, but come on. I think we all put a giant asterisk next to that. But Chris had a stat in his story, Javon, that this was basically there are some 8-game losing streaks in Syracuse history, and collectively this was the worst one. You think about that.
I saw that. I have a question for you.
Okay.
And it's because of scratch that. Simple question for you.
Okay.
Why do we put an asterisk on 2020?
I think we put an asterisk on it because it was such a weird year. Nobody knew what was happening. They didn't even know if they were going to play week to week. You didn't know who was going to be there. Am I going to fail a test? There's nobody in the stands. I mean, Syracuse actually made it through the whole season. And it's a credit to them that they put together an entire football season. That team also, by the way, had just an unbelievable run of injuries. They lost so many guys on that team that they barely had a functioning football team at the end of the year. So I think you do have to lay that asterisk on there. Just say, like, the world was a little different then. That's all.
So for me, I'm very weary of that. Because every team in the country went through COVID in 2020. Every team in the country went through uncertainty throughout the week. Like, where I really lost the give you a bailout for 2020 thing. Remember a few years ago, a whole bunch of NFL GMs gave some anonymous quotes and were like, we shouldn't be graded off our evaluation of the quarterbacks that started that season. And that's when it lost it for me. No, man, you got a job to do as a football player, as a coach, as a general manager, as an athletic director, any of it for that year. Like, I've seen 2020 be the beginning of the downfall for some programs. And it was like some coaches try to use this as a cop-out. Like, nah, man, you just didn't necessarily do your job. We still had football that year. We still had playoffs that year.
The football, that was a run there, Javon. So Tommy DeVito takes over in 2019 fully. He got a little time in 2018 filling in for Dungy and some injury spots. 2019, DeVito fully takes over. In 2019 and 2020, he was literally the most sacked quarterback in the country. So the football thing is that you can't excuse COVID or not. That was the worst offensive line I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the main ingredient into why they were so bad. So there you go. Kyle S. says, I'm not sure how they expect anyone to have faith in this program after the pathetic display that they put on this season. You can't put all of this on losing one player, quarterback or not. This is what I'm talking about with reason number 5, Javon. Like, yeah, you lost the quarterback, but I think people, while understanding the importance of that position, are just like, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
There is more to it than that. So that's why Fran's got to renew the belief out there. He's got to give people something to clasp onto and say, yes, this is why you're going to turn this thing around.
I saw a tweet yesterday. Some NFL fan whose team is dealing with a backup quarterback. I should have checked to see exactly which team he was talking about. But he's like, hey, I saw the 49ers go out there a whole lot of weeks this season with Mac Jones and go win games. We've seen Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett go out there and win games for Tom Brady for 4 weeks, right? Like, quarterback isn't your whole team. You have to build around it. And even then, you should still have a backup that can go in there and maybe can't win you a game, but isn't going to lose you games.
Lose you a game.
You know, so you've got to show an ability to do that. Last Insider said, got to gain respectability next year or else, whatever. Give Fran 4 years. That's my benchmark in college, 4 years. But year 3 next season and year 4, the year after that, you got to show me you can build a full team and that you can have a backup quarterback that can be ready to go in at any time and handle himself as a number one. Maybe not perform as a number one, but at least handle himself as a number one, which we did not see this season.
Well, you didn't see it this season. You got to a point where, like Joe Filardi, and don't take this the wrong way, but if we're just analyzing this, he's not even a quarterback that you put in there that you hope doesn't lose the game. Joe Filardi can't quarterback. I mean, he had some downfield passes today. They were all overthrown, but boy, Javon, how many throws in that game? Joe Filardi took a snap and turned directly to his right or left and threw a horizontal pass just to get the ball out of his hands and prevent a turnover, right? So
let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
Joe Filardi finished the season with 3 starts and did not pass for it. He did not even touch 100 yards in either of those games.
He's not ready.
It's as simple as that.
Not only is he not ready, and again, I'm just looking at this from a quarterback standpoint, he's not a Division I quarterback, period. Not only is he not ready, he's not a Division I quarterback. I've seen too many guys come in as freshmen this year that look like Division I quarterbacks. He doesn't. So the best thing, Mason Heichel comes right to mind. So the best thing I can say about that is Gary Gate let out a long sigh that his star recruit, long stick midfielder, did not get hurt on the football field this year.
I think Fran wants Steve 2 transfers and Zaid Lott next season. I don't think we need to see Joe Filardi the walk-on next year. I think we just let him have his full dedication towards lacrosse.
Fran did say, by the way, in the postgame presser that at the quarterback position, high schoolers are not the way to go. You have to utilize the portal for that. So he was asked, what does that say about the guys that are currently on the roster? And he kind of gave the same answer that he did about the coaching staff, that I don't want to make an impulsive comment about that right now, but we'll see what happens. But I think you're going to see quite a few exits from the quarterback room. I'll put it to you that way.
I would be careful about that mindset too. I think you need an even split. I think you have to have your guys that you can develop on the homegrown thing and hope they can turn into something. But while they are cooking, go ahead and have your transfer quarterback.
So does that expose, and I know I'm answering some unanswerable questions here, but that's what we do on the pod. Does that expose what Fran referenced with the system? We put them in a system that did not adjust to who was the next man up. It was just, here's the next man up, and we're trying to put you in this box here, and none of you fit in it, which is
you got to recruit guys
telling in and of itself. Yeah.
If you're not going to change your system, then you have to recruit guys that fit the system. Like, I couldn't understand why the Ravens brought in Cooper Rush this offseason. That was the reason for 2 of the losses while Lamar Jackson was out. He can't run. Why is Cooper Rush Lamar Jackson's backup? So stuff like that. I don't know how you wind up with, Ricky Collins, the dual threat, as your backup to Steve Angeli, and you're not using his legs. Like, if you're not going to change the scheme, then make sure you recruit guys who fit the offense 100%.
Frankie S. says, if you hadn't told me before the season that Syracuse would finally win a game in Death Valley, yet finish the year at 3-9, with that being their final win of the season, I don't think I would believe you. Lacey says, I just compared a few Syracuse stats to the local high schools in my area, as if watching this team is not depressing enough. That's a rabbit hole I probably should not have gone down. I mean, what we watched today was a high school game, Javon. we watched a team run essentially a high school offense to just kind of prevent some mistakes, get through it, and let's hit the reset button afterwards. Ben S. says, good riddance to the season. What's depressing is that we should be seeing improvements in certain area of the team, but everything seems to be going in the wrong direction. He notes specifically the defense has been horrendous today. More questions than answers on the coaching staff going forward. The coaching staff, I kind of noted it in our top 5, Javon, but there are going to be coaching changes. Like that is, I never want to say 100%, but 99.95%, right? Who fits, who doesn't. Like we can go through the staff and try and kind of split hairs here and figure out who will be there and who will not. But you did change around Nunzio Campanelli and Michael Johnson, Sr., right? How will they take that? I mentioned I think the defense needs an overhaul. So I think you're going to see, I don't want to put a number on it, but I think you're going to see, to quote my old friend Paul Pasqualoni, multiple changes on that side of the ball.
Hey, remember I said before the season, number 1 on my list was Rob Wright, linebackers coach.
Yeah.
Before the season started, I said I think he's going to wind up being out. And I did not see strong enough linebacker play this season. If we had to do a crystal ball, and this is no reporting, this is just a whole bunch of
observation. Yep.
This is just educated guessing. I think you wind up with Elijah Robinson no longer being the coordinator. I don't think you see Robert Wright back as linebackers coach. Those are the 2 I feel confident in right now.
See, and what you're balancing is what position do you have on the defense and your importance in recruiting, which is why I don't think they're going to fire Robinson. They'll just reassign him.
Yeah.
Nick Wright has Nick Wright. Not Nick Wright.
We're not doing Fox Sports 1 over here. No.
Shout out to Syracuse alum Nick Wright.
I did not know that.
Yes, Syracuse alum. Nick Williams, your defensive line coach, awesome recruiter, right? Connects with the guys. Do you bump him up to defensive coordinator? Do you give him a better title, if you will? Do you find a way to keep him? He's going to be hard to keep one way or the other.
You need guys that have proven they are ready to call plays. Like, I don't think the Power 4 level is where you, in this age of football, I don't think the Power 4 level is where you give somebody the opportunity to be a first-time coordinator. I really don't.
Fair.
I think you are in the range of, no, you go poach the best group of 5, group of 6 guys. If you're trying to contend, I don't think at the Power 4 level you can have first-time coordinators anymore. At least not on defense. Offensively, you've got like a real talented passing game coordinator. You might be able to slide with it. Defensively,
Josh Gaddis is sitting right there.
So.
I think Josh Gaddis is more than a wide receivers coach. They got to figure that out. I would, if I was a betting man, I know I'm jumping over the offense here, but I don't think we're going to see Nunzio Campanelli back. Again, this is not reporting. This is just kind of looking at the natural way things shaped out. I don't know if he wants to coach tight ends at Syracuse next year. But, like I said, we could go through all the names here and be here all night, but there's going to be changes for sure. From the Dahmer, who says, Brent, WTF would Fran have done if he didn't get Angeli? This is worse than the 1 in 10 COVID season. We were just talking about that. And for some reason, it feels worse than any G-Rob season. Javon, that's like the standard when people go back to the dark times of when Syracuse football felt like it had hit rock bottom. And I tweeted that out there. I'm like, before we start comparing this to the Greg Robinson years, where there was a 1-win season and there was just a lot of bad football, are we sure what we saw wasn't worse? Not only tonight, but in some other ways. I brought up the stat that Chris calculated, and there's reasons for it, certainly. That those teams were just bad. It wasn't due to like a major injury to a quarterback that led the country in passing when he went down. They just were not good. So it's a different kind of feeling. But before you start comparing it back to Robinson, for all his faults, did beat Notre Dame, wasn't on the level of this Notre Dame team, did win some games, did some things that even this team didn't do in a 3-9, 8-game losing streak season. So just, be careful about that, guys. A different feeling, different situation. But hate to break it to you, some of the things we saw this year were worse than that.
I find that ironic because Fran has worked for another school's equivalent of G-Rob. in Rod Carey. So that is funny to me.
To the voicemail line we go, my friend. We have a couple voicemails. Including one from down south, we shall say. But we start with my guy, Jim B, not that Jim B.
Hey, Brett, not that Jim B. Just thank God it's over. It's painful to watch. I feel bad for guys like Volari and Deuce, who gave a lot to the program. Wish them the best of luck. But Fran really needs to take a hard look, Dart accountable. He needs to take a hard look at the coaching staff. The fact that they couldn't develop one of 105 Division I football players that could throw a forward pass, that's kind of ridiculous. And I know Elijah Robinson is his friend, but the defense last year and this year has been bad. I think they're the bottom of the ACC. And I think McCord last year saved Robinson a little bit. It's time now to go out and get some decent coordinators and decent coaches that can coach these guys up. He's getting a young talent, but you got to be able to develop them.
All right, that's voicemail number 1. I still think Jeff Nixon, if you give him the right quarterback, is a good coordinator that is respected in the game, but that inflexibility, to throw a term out there that Fran referenced, Javon. How many times did Fran this year say, give the ball to Yasin more? And he's answering questions. It's not like he just walked in a room and be like, I got beef with Jeff Nixon, but you could tell. Look at this week. Chris reports Will Nixon's coming back, the son of the offensive coordinator. Fran goes on the radio a couple days later when he's informed of that, or maybe the next day. It says, that's news to me. Right, so there's some awkwardness there. There's some awkwardness there. So something to keep an eye on with the coordinator thing. And I heard no lies with what he said about Robinson and the defense and some of the other things he noted there. To Florida we go. Only appropriate that Rockin' Ron gets the last word.
Hey, Brent, Rockin' Ron in Florida. Definitely not a happy camper today. This one here is on Fran Brown alone. Now, I don't want to hear he's embarrassed, how he was embarrassed by Notre Dame. Well, we knew how good Notre Dame was, so I can accept where we were at there. But BC was only a 3.5-point favorite, and they blew us out by 22 points. And to me, that's based on the way Fran Brown called this game. You're supposed to put the best players out there. I don't believe he did. And then I'll tell you the other thing, this defense, and Fran Brown's got to make some changes at the end of this season. He's got to demote or do something with Elijah Robinson. He is not a defensive coordinator. We've seen it all year long. And I don't believe, no matter who you bring in out of the portal and put them with our young guys, that this defense is going to be that much better under him. And if they do, I swear, I bet you it's not going to be any better than it is this year. And the offense, 26 passing yards in the first half, atrocious. And we all know it. We were all sleeping through most of this game, and it was that boring. We've got to make some changes. Yes, I understand. I'm frustrated. You're frustrated. There's a lot of fans out there frustrated. I'm going to sit back, and I'm going to wait until after the early signing period to see who we kept committed to us and go from there. I know this wasn't the way I wanted to call it in the last game of the season with you, but a lot of frustration on a lot of players and fans. Anyways, buddy, we'll be talking again here soon, I'm sure, especially after the signing period. Until then, later.
Rock and Ron, thanks for all your great calls throughout the year on the voicemail line. Thanks to Not That Jim B and a few other insiders that have been leaving some voicemails. Javon, I gave out the secret voicemail line to some more people. Basketball fans are starting to jump on that too, so we'll fire those out there on the post-game show for those of you in the know that were let into the secret voicemail club.
What does one have to do to be allowed in the secret voicemail club?
You just got to ask, basically.
Hmm.
That's really
Asking
it.
you shall receive, huh?
Asking you shall receive. If you text, if that's a benefit of being a Syracuse Sports Insider, if you text me like, can I get the secret voicemail line? Sure. Yeah, you just got to ask, basically. I'm an easy date. Just ask. Oh, yeah, sure. You got it. So, Javon, the season is over, but now we put our offseason hats on, and in some cases, the workload increases in a way. The football's done. We analyze the football. We look at the transactions and sort through what Syracuse football can do to be better when they take the field 280 days from now. But that being said, thanks for all your great work throughout the season here on the pod and, of course, on syracuse.com. Pleasure to share the press box with you. And we move on to how Fran Brown's going to fix this thing.
Yes. You're not lying about the workload. Last week was the most time I spent on the phone in a little while. Interesting week coming up. I was at Giant Supermarket Wednesday night shopping for some Thanksgiving groceries, taking phone calls. All right, so yeah, this is going to be an interesting next 2 months.
You went to the grocery store on the night before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I salute you, sir.
Yeah.
I salute you.
The
one day of the year, I refuse to go to Edmonds. I don't care if we are out of food. Is the day before Thanksgiving. Not happening. No.
Here's the explanation. My grandma, I'm being honest with you, I gotta call out. She's dead wrong for this one. Had I not made it home.
Oh no, don't call out Grandma. Should I stop you from this?
No, because she knows.
Okay.
Had I not made it home.
I gave you a chance to back away before you jumped in. Okay.
Had I not made it home, she was not going to cook Thanksgiving dinner for my granddad, my dad, and my little brother.
Oh no.
I couldn't have that. So I'm like, you know what? All right, let's go to the store. I'll go ahead and put it together. Okay. And, I was so mad that I flew home this time because I couldn't take any leftovers home because I ate that plate Thursday night. And I asked myself, damn, why in the world did I make the food this good? And
good for you, man.
I was up here last night and today, and I'm thinking about it now. Like, oh, my goodness, no sweet potatoes and no mac and cheese for me.
Oh man. Well, what's better than Thanksgiving leftovers? By the way, it doesn't have to be in a sandwich. That's overrated. I get why some people do it, but Javon and I could do a whole pod about this, trust me. But we could not have a turkey in the house for Thanksgiving, and I am not going to the grocery store the day before Thanksgiving to get it. So I give you credit for that, my friend. That's about as rough a road as it gets right there.
Is it that bad up here at the grocery store on Thanksgiving?
At Wegmans it is. I love Wegmans with my dear heart. Okay, don't get me wrong.
That's where I shop up at Wegmans and Aldi. That's it.
Yeah, listen. I am a general in the Wegmans army, trust me. But the day before Thanksgiving, no way. No, there could be $1 million hidden somewhere in the aisles of that grocery store. Not happening. Anyway, thank you, Javon. Great work, my friend. And now, silly season begins. Stay tuned here on the pod. Stay tuned on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line with all the latest. Of course, our Syracuse basketball postgame shows in full gear Tuesday night. Another big one for the Orange as they take on Tennessee. We'll have a live post-game show after that game. So make sure you subscribe, folks, on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your pods, so you can listen and watch on demand whenever you want. For Javon Edmonds, I'm Brent Axe. This has been a live edition of Syracuse Sports, our last Syracuse football post-game show of 2025. Thanks for watching and listening throughout the season, everybody, but still plenty to come here as Syracuse football looks to repair the damage from a 3-9 season. And it's all been presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. We'll catch you next time, guys.